Thank you all for joining me today. I was shooting a wedding for a friend of mine. It's been about a year and a half now. And I was out there and I was taking lots of pictures. And I had my camera and I had my lighting equipment and I had everything I thought that I needed. And I was halfway through and my SD card filled up. And I was like, oh, surely I planned ahead and I put the rest of my spare SD cards in my bag. So I'm looking through my bag, I'm looking through the car, I'm asking my wife, I'm asking anybody around if they've seen it, and of course it wasn't there. I didn't have the proper tools, I wasn't set, and so I was kind of freaking out at that point because I'd gone through part of the wedding, but there were still a lot of good pictures to take, and I certainly didn't want to disappoint the bride and the groom by not taking the proper pictures or by not fulfilling all of the things that a photographer is supposed to do. And all it took was to tell someone that I was missing an SD card. And it turns out one of the guests had just a little phone, but it happened to take the same type of SD card as I needed. And so I was able to borrow his SD card and keep going. So sometimes you're freaking out because you don't have the right tools to make your website better. You don't necessarily know what you're doing. And sometimes all it takes is to ask for help, and then you can get the proper tools and you can learn how to move forward, how to get better, how to be prepared. So today we're going over the best practices harnessing the power of Google tools. And so you guys have taken the first step, you've asked for help. I will go over some of these tools, and that should start you on your path to making your website better, to getting more out of IDX Broker, and to selling more homes. So I'm Aleck, I'm the content producer here. I create the knowledge base articles, and I was working support for several years here. So I am well knowledgeable in IDX Broker itself. And today we're going to branch out of that a little bit. We're going to talk about some Google tools that you can use with IDX Broker just to get more out of your website. So today's agenda, we will be looking at the subdomain setup, or really why you need to do that. I won't be going step by step into setting up your subdomain, but we have created some videos on that, some knowledge base articles. I think we've even covered it in a webinar before. And if you do need help with that, please let us know, but I'll just kind of talk about that just a little bit. Then we're going to go over sitemaps, both HTML and XML, why you need those, and how to set those up. We're actually going to get into Google Tools a little bit, and we're going to review HTML errors. We're going to go through a couple of the other tools there to get you started. We're going to analyze keyword traffic. This one is key. We're going to find out what your clients, your visitors are searching for, how they're getting to your site. So let's go ahead and get started with the Google Search Console. So when you log into Google Search Console, this is what you might get. Yours may be a lot smaller than this one. I actually have IDX Broker on here. I have www.idxbroker developers learn support. So really, the first step you're going to want to do is to set up all of your subdomains in here. So you can set up a CNAME with your registrar. That's going to be homes.search. Maybe Colorado if you're in that area. Whatever you need to get the IDX Broker pages, which are on one of our domains, to be treated as your domain. Once you get that set up, and as I said, there are tutorials out there specifically for IDX Broker that can get you started with that, or one of our support reps can walk you through that as well. Once you have that set up, you will actually need to add that to your Search Console. Yes, so if you have listings.your website and that points to your IDX Broker pages, perfect. So that's going to point to subdomains.idxbroker.com. Once you have that, you need to tell Google that you're the owner, that you need the credit for it, that all of the analytics and all of the clicks and everything like that will point to that site. So to do that, you're going to be in here, and as you can tell, we have a bunch. Some of these aren't verified yet, but we're just going to go ahead and do add property. Here you can type that in. So you can do listings. In this case, I'm going to go idxbroker.com, even though I'm pretty sure that's not a site, and Make sure you're on website because you're not doing an app at this point, I assume. And you're going to add that. So you've done the first part, which is adding it. Now Google needs to make sure that's really yours because, as I just showed, I can type anything in that box. And Google doesn't know. You know, I could type your site in this box. I could type anyone's site in that box. And I don't want Google necessarily to give control of my site over to somebody else, even if it's just the analytics. So it needs to verify it. So the easiest way is you can just download this HTML file. Just go ahead and FTP that into your website. And then once that is there, and if you don't have FTP access, you can let your webmaster know to upload this, or there are alternate methods here that you can look at. You know, if you have Tag Manager or Analytics or something like that. But this is the simplest. Go ahead and verify that. And that way, Google knows you have access to your actual site. You're the owner. They can actually go ahead and link that up for you. Once we have a subdomain on there, at this point you might just have your website and a subdomain, or you may have maybe a blog page. Google has all of these, you know, different sites, and a lot of websites do, where they'll put the blog on one side or they'll put the support on a different subdomain. We have those on here. Yeah, the verification code is actually going to be on your main website. So then Google will be able to find that there. The wrapper is going to be separate. Right now, we're telling Google that you own that site. So now, theoretically, you may have listings.your website right here. I'm going to actually deal mainly with support today, but before we do that, one good thing is, since you are treating these the same, just like your clients are treating them the same, we can create a set. So you have at least 2 website properties set up in Google Search Console, and we expect our visitors to seamlessly move between 2. This is why we create the wrapper. This is why we try to match your site. This is why we set up the subdomain. So we can actually make a set so that when we do analytics, when we do all of these search tools, it treats them as the same thing. So to do that, you simply just create a set. And so you can name this set maybe IDX or your MLS or your website, whatever you want. Then simply add the members here. So I can link these together and then work with them as a single unit instead of bouncing between the 2 or having some of my pages have a higher bounce rate because it's going to a search page and Google thinks that's a different website. You can actually go ahead and just add a set and make those here. We've set up our domain in Search Console, so we're all set there. We've verified it. We've made a set so that we can link those together. Now, what do we do with it? You know, so we have this great stuff. The first thing we can do is we can work with sitemaps. So there are 2 main types of sitemaps. There's the HTML sitemap and the XML sitemap. I really recommend that you do both. So the HTML sitemap is more a human one so that people can go to your website and they can find out all those sites, maybe find out exactly what they're looking for straight off the bat. The XML sitemap is the one you will send to Google. So it isn't required, but it makes it faster for Google to be able to find all of the pages on your site and go ahead and index those. So to find those, you can actually log into your account, your IDX Broker account, and then you can go to Designs and Pages. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, here we have the HTML sitemap, which you can put a link to that, usually somewhere in the footer of your website. And the XML sitemap is the one that you will submit to Google. So you can find a link here, and you're just going to take the end part of this right here, after the domain, which is the .com or .net or whatever part. You're going to take this part, you're going to copy that, and then you're going to submit that to Google. So I can go to support, sitemaps, and I can actually add or test a sitemap, and I can put that URL in right there. But right here is the bulk of the Search Console. So we're just going to go down, we're going to highlight a few of these. The first thing I'm going to look at is the HTML improvements. So some of these are newer items, rich cards, structured data, things like that, but a lot of times they will only apply to certain industries. And so for real estate, they're not necessarily as helpful as they are if you had a restaurant or if you're promoting a movie or something like that. But HTML improvements is a great one. So Google looks at your site and says, these are the things that we kind of see are wrong with it, or if you change these things, it could help in your ranking. A couple of these things here, specifically, I have some duplicate meta descriptions on this site and some duplicate title tags. And so those are things you're going to want to change. You can change them. It'll tell you where they are. So sometimes it'll be on your site itself. These are the pages listed here, and sometimes it'll be on your IDX Broker pages. If you go through here and you find a lot of duplicates, see, Google wants unique content. It wants to promote something that's new, something that the visitor or the searcher is actually looking for instead of a bunch of copies of the same thing. So it's going to say, hey, this is a duplicate. Somebody's already done this. We're not going to push this up anymore. You do need a separate sitemap for the subdomain. So you can go through here, and for each property, which in this case isn't a listing, but it's one of your domains on your website. So I have support.idxbroker.com right here. And then I also have www.idxbroker.com. They both have different subdomains, and so they also have different sitemaps. So you will want to upload one for your main site as well as for the IDX Broker site. So if you have a bunch of duplicate content on your IDX Broker pages, one of the easiest ways to change that is to actually go in here and change some of these tags maybe to be dynamic. So I can change what my basic search page looks like here. So right now the name is basic search. It has no page title. So I might want to put in, search in Raleigh or search in South Dakota or something like that to be a more unique page title. And then you can see I don't have any description or meta tags or keywords right here. So I might fill that out just so that Google recognizes it as a unique page. You can also create dynamic content because every time that one of your listing pages comes up, you want that to be completely different from the other listing pages. And since it's dynamic content, you can't go, nor would you want to go through all 50,000 listings and change those individually. You can actually go into here to the details page and you can edit your preferences. And here I can add in different things like the address or the city name or my zip code, or I can pull this down and find the listing ID or something like that. So this is for the URL. We have dynamic titles, and then you can also do those for the descriptions and the keywords. And you're going to want to do this instead of having all, like I said, 50,000 or however many listings are active in your MLS. You don't want them to be the same. Those are duplicates. So you're going to want some unique stuff in here to get rid of those errors that you might see in Search Console. So that stuff you may have already known. Now we're actually going to look at the traffic coming into our site. If you've ever wondered how many Google searches show your site, so what am I showing up for? How are people reaching me? You can measure where your traffic comes from, what device was used. So if you don't have a mobile site or a mobile-friendly site, you can tell, is this really important? In my market, are people mainly coming to me on the desktop? Are they coming to me on mobile? Should I put a lot more effort into my mobile site to really get the most out of it? Or if it's inconvenient or if it's a lot of money, if I have a really low percentage coming via mobile, maybe I should just focus on the desktop site. So that part, so search appearance is what you're going to look like on a Google search, and what pages are going to come up and what's duplicate. But my search traffic is how people are going to get to me. So I can actually look here at search analytics, and it shows how often I come up for a specific search query. So while each data set is helpful, the query category is likely to me your most helpful. So when I come to my support site, it looks like in this case, lately Wix has been really important for some reason. So people have been asking how I integrate IDX into Wix. So that tells me as a content producer that maybe I should focus on that. Maybe I should put some keywords in there to help people out with that and to give them what they need. It can tell how people are getting to me. And maybe if something is way down here, like maybe create custom links, maybe I want to make that more important. Doesn't look like a lot of people are getting to my site at all based on that. So maybe I need to add some keywords in there. Maybe write a blog post about how to create custom links. So definitely look at these. They're going to change, hopefully for the better, but this will allow you to tweak your keywords, tweak your content, find out right off the bat how people are getting to your site. And then if you don't like it, if they're coming to your site for something that you don't do, then you can change how your site looks, what is applicable on your website. So from here, you can identify what content needs improvement, what people are actually looking for, and if you really work on this, it'll make your website significantly better. One thing that you can also look at is links to your site. Hopefully you guys have links to other people's sites. Hopefully they have links back to you. Linking back and forth is a really good way to increase your SEO and to get more traction on Google and other search engines. Here you can tell who most often links back to you. So for support.idxbroker.com, it's no surprise that idxbroker.com is my number one. Inforza is number two. That's pretty cool. That's one of our developer partners. And then there's some of these that I don't recognize, but they could be developer partners or a blog that may have reposted one of our articles. And then Agent Evolution, which is one of our sister companies. So if you ever find something in here that is not appropriate, if it's a spam site, if it's something that's just using your site as a, to get more leads or something like that, you can actually block sites. So keep an eye on here. It's also, if some of these people are really giving you a lot of love, maybe you can link back to them and say, oh, you know what? Inforza has been great to us. Maybe I should send some links their way. Maybe I should foster that relationship. You can also check what Google is indexing. So I can see here all the pages on support.idxbroker.com that Google is currently indexing, what I'm currently blocking, and then I can actually remove specific URLs. So if you have something on your site that's showing up on a search that you don't want there, maybe your wrapper page somehow got up on there, but it's just the blank wrapper page, you can actually hide that from Google so that you can still use it. We can still base the design of your IDX Broker pages on that, but that specific page won't be shown up on a Google search. We have just a couple more minutes. Do you have any other questions that I can answer really quick? Yeah, so for the verification code, That's not going to upload to IDX Broker. That's actually going to upload to your main website, the root of your website. So if you have greathomesforsale.com, you can use an FTP client or have your developer actually take that HTML file and upload it to that main site. And then Google will go ahead and read that and then be able to verify that for you. Yeah, if you want to hide the wrapper, you're just going to go ahead and use the address that you've used for that. So that's assuming you have a dynamic wrapper, which is actually a page on your website. So some people have greathomes.com/IDX wrapper or something like that. Now we take that content, we take the HTML and use that as the base for the IDX broker pages so they all look the same. But if it's just blank page, you may not want that shown. So you could go ahead and use that wrapper and hide that from Google so that only your IDX broker pages will show up, not the wrapper itself. IDX provides support for our entire product. So we don't specifically support Google search tools, but if you have a problem setting up your wrapper, if you have a problem setting up those dynamic SEO settings in those pages or something like that, please reach out, let us know. If you need help with your subdomain, we can help you at least partly on our side. There is another element of it from your registrars with setting up the CNAME. We have some instructions on our knowledge base, and if those are ever out of date, because they change them a lot, please let me know and I'll get those updated. Well, thank everybody for joining me today. We have many more webinars coming up. We have some specifically about FCM and SEO with one of our resident experts here, Bishop. So be looking for that. If you're brand new, we do have some new user webinars as well and a lot of exciting stuff coming up. So go to idxbroker.com/IDX_webinar. And you will find all of our available webinars coming up right there. Again, thank you for joining me today and have a wonderful rest of your week.